to Ask Rafah, where your problems are answered. Today I have a letter here with me written by a Mary Sutherland, who tells me that she's concerned about her son's girlfriend and wondering if she's too young for him. And this is how the letter goes. My 26-year-old son has a new girlfriend. She's only 20, barely out of her teens, and I'm extremely worried about the age gap. If it were the other way around and she was 6 years older than him, people would talk. The girl is quite immature, but he is smitten with her. Shouldn't my son find someone his own age? Well, Mary, let me tell you something. For starters, your son is 26 years old, so he's very capable of making his own decisions, and you have to let him go to be able to make his own decisions. If he senses that you are interfering, which I'm sure you have made it probably hinted at the fact that you're not really happy about it, that he needs to be able to make his own decisions, and your work here is to encourage that and let him know that you trust him, you have faith in his abilities, and you have faith in his decision making. In spite of the fact that the girl is quite young, who's only 20, and you say that she's immature, I don't know if she's displayed anything. You don't actually explain in what way you might assume that she's immature, but perhaps in your company she feels intimidated, threatened, or perhaps even shy. And we often can make assumptions about people and then decide that we label them with being immature or not good enough or whatever judgment we might cast upon people. So I feel in some way that really you don't have much say in the matter, and the more you try and push your issue, I'm sure anybody in the right state of mind would actually naturally rebel against what the mother or father would say and actually just continue to do what they really feel. Now, what you actually don't want to have happen is for him to lie to you or pull back and get hostile towards your interference. So I would tread very carefully, really, and allow him to be able to be open with you, and for him to be able to feel free that he can actually bring her around, or you can do family things together, because I think in essence that's what you would really like, by the sounds of the fact that you actually are invested in what he is doing, and in terms of what he's doing and who he's actually seeing. The fact that he's smitten is natural. I think when you're that young as well, we tend to really fall for somebody much more than when we're older. It shows the sort of emotional intelligence to be at that level, and I don't think anybody at younger age, from the teenage all the way into the 20s, can't help but be smitten. I think you need to really accept that. And as far as the age concern or the gap is concerned, I don't think you really have anything to worry about, and that's more about your projection and your thoughts about him being too old for her. And the fact that you even say that if it were the other way around, people would talk. Yes, people would talk. People talk, whether it's something positive or negative, and people make it their habit to interfere. But really, it is their life, and it could be a serious relationship or develop into a serious one, or it could be a relationship that will pass by. And that is the purpose, of our personal development, both emotionally and spiritually, to be able to explore the terrain of relationships. And that's how we end up discovering who we are and how we need to be, and the improvements that we need to actually make within ourselves on behalf of the relationship. I find that most relationships, particularly in my experience as well, a lot of my relationships have allowed me to grow. There could have been many choices I've made along the way that I could see or maybe even sensed weren't right for me, but I still went ahead and participated in a relationship, some of them lasting only 6 months and some of them lasting as much as 3 years. But in all of them, I got to learn about myself, what I needed to do, and had to reflect on some of the choices that I made that obviously I wouldn't even consider making now based on the experience that I had. And so as a mother, I really feel that it is your spiritual and practical duty and gift that you give your child, your son in this case, to allow him to develop and discover his path in terms of the relationship. And really, as you're the one who has written, as always, with these Ask Rafah vlogs of mine, you'll have to learn to develop yourself in terms of working with the chakras. And the chakras that I find that are really affected for you are your root chakra, which is to do with the tribal laws. So they're the laws that we come into this lifetime, that we pick up from the past life possibly. So that's how you bring it into this lifetime. Sometimes we can have ways of being that is very much affected, and they're not necessarily compounded or a reflection of our upbringing. I have a feeling that you were possibly dominated or dominated or informed strictly by your mother, what was right, what was wrong, and I'm going to assume, or your father actually, but also I'm going to assume that you are bringing that element into your family life right now with your son. So in some way I would look at maybe rebalancing and activating your root chakra so you can actually help yourself to kind of maybe release the tribal belief systems that we tend to pick up and the concerns that we have around society about what we should do or not do. The other layer of chakra that I feel that is also very pertaining to you is the solar plexus. The solar plexus is a yellow yellow chakra, and that's around your navel area, and that is really important as well, and that's where we have our own personal power. And I think in some way I feel very strongly that you are very much connected to your son in this way, because you are clearly projecting what you think and your will onto what's right and what's wrong. Now the only way to also ease that concern for you would be to sever the cord, and believe me, although it's an energetic cord, you won't be severing him out of your life in any way. On the contrary, it is a cord of control, which I feel is actually overactivated in your sense. So by working with the solar plexus, that would really help you here. And this goes for anybody who has any strings attached, if you like, or when we are actually raised by dominant parents, or parents who sort of dominate our thinking and our ways of being, we tend to really bring that part of ourselves into our family life and into our relationships. And so this is a really good one to check in on people, that if you're over functioning in areas that we don't really need to do so. Your son is an independent individual, as you are, and we all are independent individuals, despite the fact that we've got into marriages and relationships. And it's really important to maintain that sense of autonomy and independence in relationships. And this is where the over-merging can happen. Now, with the solar plexus, particularly to do with control issues and our willpower, for those who struggle with interfering a lot in our partner's lives, or in our children's lives, or in our in-laws, or anybody's lives actually, I would really check in with your solar plexus, because that informs me that you are it could be overstimulated, if you like, or under. Again, it all just depends. By harmonizing the solar plexus, you will definitely be able to get some sense of not needing to have to step in and put your oar in on matters that don't really concern you. Now, my other another layer of the chakra, which I also feel, not that one, this one, which is the indigo, which is the third eye, the point of here, and that is, I feel that you're overthinking things that, again, don't concern you. And really what you really need to bring in here is your innate wisdom. Now, we all have our sense of intuition and innate wisdom, which tends to kind of go skew with when we overthink things and allow our less insightful personality to step in and navigate our lives. I feel that with you working on the third eye, you're able to trust more, and in fact come from a much deeper sense of self that would actually help your son and your relationship with him, and a continued positive relationship with him, by working with the third eye. The other layer of chakra also, which I'll include for this one, will be your heart, because what's really important here is I don't get the feeling that you're over kind of emotionally clingy. But again, any emotional cling tends to happen from a heart that's very distrusting. And I would work somewhat on your heart chakra as well, because I feel that the heart chakra would allow you to be able to come from a place of compassion, a motherly love, an unconditional love, and a trust that would be, again, very beneficial with your relating to your son. Now, when you work with a chakra system, this will affect the whole of your life. So we could be looking at a specific problem, but it will have a knock-on effect. Now, if you see my first vlogs, I explained briefly the whole of the chakra system, which really looks like so. Now, the whole chakra system for me is like a guitar string, and when all your 7 strings are tuned up in the guitar, you get to play a really harmonious melody out of it. Generally, anyway, if you know how to play the chords, of course. But in essence, each chakra is like the strings of a guitar. So when they're tuned up, and when they're finally tuned up, you do come from a place of much more authenticity, a place of power, a place of love, a place of stableness and strong foundation of relating, and also insight and actually higher and spiritual guidance. So it is really a powerful way, of a holistic way of working to really recharge, work and release the shadows that are all of us have, but most of us are unconscious of sometimes the projections and the shadow work that we need to do. And the chakras, in my view, really help to activate, strengthen and clean up any of the debris that we might have adopted. So that is my recommendation for you, Mary. If you actually want to work on these chakras, I suggest, and anybody else watching with the same issue, if you have an issue really that you are concerned about somebody else who's an adult, but you refuse to let go and be over-functioning and controlling over it, I really suggest that perhaps these chakra work will very much help you. And you can find the extended version, the meditation, and the suggested programming, which is like the mantras, that will help you to release, retune, and recalibrate your chakras so you can let go of the control and the over-functioning self, you know, because in fact when people interfere quite a bit, it means they're kind of really not looking at your own life often, and somehow you tend to sort of have a sense of self-worth by engaging in other people's life and interfering. And it's not a bad thing, and of course it's meant well, and people probably do come to you with your problems and stuff, but you have to also let them know when it's your problem and when it's not. So this is one that everyone can really benefit from. So do go onto my Vimeo with the extended practice and the knowledge of the chakras, which I go into greater detail, and you'll find the link for that Vimeo underneath my in my description. And with that, I also do a card reading, so maybe we can actually look at maybe what the blocks are there, and maybe see really possibly with a selection of cards that I will pull for you, what you can do to elevate and get cope or manage this problem for you. So Mary, I really do hope that I managed to sort this problem out in the short time that I've got, but do take note, try and do pull back with your interference, accept that your son is making his own choices. They may not be your decision, but it is his. Perhaps embrace that he is, you know, getting involved and falling in love, and you know, sort of embracing the pathway of relating and you know, building a relationship, which is really a natural course of life, and a wonderful one for that. And be there for him when he needs to speak to you, you know, in case their problems arise, you know, so he can feel safe in speaking to you. And if not, also please accept that he doesn't have to come to you with all the problems, and his problems for that matter. He may get counsel from his father or maybe some other friend, and really the relationship journey is a personal one, and unless it's causing him a lot of painful problems and there's some very negative stuff happening, I would say just let him embrace the new relationship that he's about to embark on, and forget the age gap. I wouldn't, you know, let that be an issue. Let him discover for himself if she's too immature or too young for him, and no doubt he will. All right, thanks very much, and thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. you.